guys, welcome back. I know it's been a long time since I made a video, but I am back and I'm making one today. I also realized that I almost never introduce myself or who I am in my videos. Just in case you're new here, my name is Kel and I am a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist since 2017. I've done a lot of hospital work. I worked in the hospital for most of my career, but now I've changed up a little bit and I do talk to patients on a daily basis about these types of medications and just providing medication education. So today we're going to be talking about two medication classes. Those are ACE inhibitors and ARBs. Before I get started, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel, even with my absence for the past few months, as well as people that have been commenting, liking, supporting this channel. I really appreciate it. Also, as an FYI, I promise I'm getting to the video, but my dog is right next to me and is snoring, so if you hear sounds, that's what that is. So like I said, today we're talking about ACE inhibitors and ARBs. So first let's talk about what are ACEs and ARBs. So ACE stands for angiotensin converting enzyme, and we say ACE inhibitors, so it's angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, and ARB stands for angiotensin receptor blockers. There is a system in our body called the RAS system. That stands for renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. That system is heavily responsible for regulating a lot of processes in our body, such as blood volume or electrolyte balance, and it can also affect our vascular resistance. There's a molecule called angiotensin 2 that is involved in the RAS system. And as I mentioned, ACE inhibitors and ARBs, they both have the word angiotensin in them, so it is related to that angiotensin 2 molecule. In a normal process in your RAS system, angiotensin 2 causes vasoconstriction, or it causes your blood vessels to constrict. Because of that, these medications help to prevent angiotensin 2 from either being made or from binding to the receptor that would cause that action to carry out. Thus, angiotensin 2 cannot do its main purpose, which is causing vasoconstriction, and so your blood pressure doesn't go up. Essentially, ACEs and ARBs do work in slightly different ways within the RAS system, but they have the same overall effect, which is preventing angiotensin 2 from increasing blood pressure. An easy way to remember ACEs versus ARBs: ACE inhibitors often end in pril. So you might have heard of lisinopril, benazepril, captopril. ARBs tend to end in sartan. So those would include valsartan, losartan. Those are the more common ones. Essentially, most of the medications ending with the pril would belong to ACE, and sartan is ARBs. That doesn't mean every single medication that ends in pril or sartan belongs to those, but it's just an easy way to remember if you ever need to recall that for any reason. Otherwise, you could just Google it on your phone. Now that we've talked about how ACEs and ARBs work, let's talk about what they are actually used for. So ACEs and ARBs are often used for high blood pressure, also called hypertension. That tends to be the more common reason that people take it, but there are lots of other reasons that people could be taking an ACE or an ARB. Oftentimes these medications are recommended if you have diabetes because they do have protective effects on the kidneys, as well as in heart failure, even in CKD, which is chronic kidney disease, and on top of hypertension, and also in coronary artery disease, or even if you've had a heart attack. So now let's talk about side effects. Like with any medication or foreign substance that we put in our body, there are side effects. My neighbor is watching me through my window right now. Wait a minute. So back to side effects. So there are side effects that can occur with ACEs and ARBs. I'm going to go through more of the common side effects, and then I'll go through some that are not as common but are a little bit more severe. So like with most blood pressure medications, ACEs and ARBs can cause some dizziness and drowsiness. And that usually can happen initially when you first start taking the medication. Most of the time it does improve over, a couple days, maybe a week or so. If you do feel like that is not improving and it's really affecting your day-to-day life, that's when you definitely want to let your doctor know. I would also advise, if you are feeling really dizzy, to just check your blood pressure. The great thing about blood pressure medications is that most of the time we have a blood pressure machine at home and we can just check our blood pressure and see what it is. Your dizziness is probably coming from your blood pressure dropping to a level that your body is just not used to. So I would say if you do experience that as well, just use a little bit of caution in your first couple of days of taking it. Don't go from sitting to standing super fast. Don't, go drive a race car or operate a forklift right away. Definitely just see how it feels in your body and how you're feeling before you go ahead and do your day-to-day activities. A side effect that does come up from time to time is a dry cough. So the good news is that the side effect is very easily treatable. The dry cough can occur with the ACE inhibitors, so those medications ending in pril. It's important to note that this is a persistent dry cough. It is not a one time I coughed here, one time I coughed there. It's not a mucus producing cough either. So if you are experiencing a dry cough that started once you started your ACE inhibitor and it's very persistent and it just kind of came out of nowhere, it could be related to this medication. In order to fix it, a lot of times all your doctor has to do is switch you to an ARB. So like I mentioned, ACEs and ARBs are very, very similar. They function essentially the same, with the end result being the same. So it's an easy switch. Your doctor can easily just discontinue your ACE inhibitor. So if, for example, if you're on lisinopril, they would stop that and they could start an ARB such as losartan, for example. Most of the time this resolves the case, but there are time to times that you might still experience the cough on the ARB. If that is the case, then you would talk to your doctor a little bit more about that. Maybe it's worth switching to a different medication class if you truly can't stand this cough. But most of the time, switching to an ARB does resolve that side effect. The next side effect that can happen is that your potassium can increase, as well as what's called your serum creatinine. So serum creatinine, you can kind of think of it as just a measure of your kidney function. It is something that can be easily measured on a lab. It's a standard thing that doctors are checking. So when you go in for a physical and they order what's called a BMP or a basic metabolic panel or a comprehensive metabolic panel, serum creatinine will always be included on that. You can also experience an increase in potassium. It usually is very temporary and it will self-resolve over, a couple days or a week or so once your body has gotten used to it. So with the potassium, while that can occur, it tends to happen more in people that might have underlying kidney issues, maybe even people that are already on potassium supplements or intaking a lot of potassium. Sometimes doctors will check your labs a month or so after starting the medication, or they might even check before and after starting it, just to see how your body changes. If you are concerned about it and your doctor hasn't checked your labs, you can also ask them about it and see if they have any concerns. But generally, it is recommended to get periodic labs throughout the year just to make sure that everything is looking good. Please don't freak out about this. It's really not as scary as it sounds, but just worth mentioning. But your doctor, like I said, can easily check labs before or after you start the medication and easily see if your serum creatinine or your potassium have been affected. And lastly, I'm gonna just talk about the side effect that I experienced, and it is, as I mentioned, very rare, but it can be life-threatening, and it's worth mentioning because it is kind of a weird one. Before I go into it, let me also preface with saying this is again extremely rare, and the only reason that I experienced it is because of my connective tissue disorder. I am super prone to allergies to everything. I'm allergic to a lot of different foods, a lot of different medications, a lot of skincare products, pretty much everything I'm allergic to. So that is why I had this effect, but again, very rare. Please don't freak out. So this last side effect I'm going to talk about is called angioedema. Angioedema basically is just the extreme swelling, generally of your face, your lips, your tongue, to a point that sometimes it can be life-threatening where people can't breathe. It is always a medical emergency because we definitely want to prevent that from progressing to anything life-threatening. In my case, I just experienced severe lip swelling. I didn't have difficulty breathing or anything like that, and it was easily fixed. I went to the emergency room and had IV Benadryl, but it is something to note because it is a little bit more specific to these medication classes. The other thing to note is that this can occur at any time that you're taking these medications. So it could happen 2 days after you start it, or it could happen 2 years after you start it. And I know that sounds a little daunting, but again, very rare. Don't worry about it. Just letting you know that if you do happen to ever experience facial swelling, lips or your tongue or any part of your face, or just swelling in general or difficulty breathing, definitely seek medical attention right away just to make sure that you are safe. Also, just to note, angioedema is more common in certain populations. It has been found to be more common in African American individuals as well as Chinese populations. Don't ask me why, I don't know. Just to recap, ACEs and ARBs do help your blood pressure. They can also be used for a number of different indications or uses. Like most blood pressure medications, these are considered maintenance medications. It's super important to take them every day as prescribed by your doctor. If your doctor has prescribed an ACE or an ARB for you and said that you should be skipping a dose for a certain blood pressure, follow that for sure. But in general, you should be taking these daily just to help maintain your blood pressure at a safe level. It also is worth noting that you should never be taking your ACE and your ARB together. It should always be one or the other. If you're on lisinopril and your doctor starts losartan, definitely want to clarify that lisinopril is discontinued and you should not continue taking those two together. Well, that's about it. I hope I didn't scare you away, and I hope that you have a better understanding of your ACE inhibitors and your ARBs. If there's something that I didn't cover or you have questions about, please comment below and let me know. I do check my comments as frequently as I can, so I will try to respond there. And I did want to say that I do have an ultimate goal to start posting a lot more on this channel. I do work full-time as a pharmacist, so it's not always easy to squeeze in time to make these videos, but I do enjoy it and I do like building this community here. Ideally, I would love to be able to do this full-time one day. I don't know if that will ever happen, but I am trying to get to at least 1,000 subscribers this year. So again, if you do enjoy these types of videos, or you like this video, or you know, I'm not completely boring to you, please go ahead and click subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And also giving this video a thumbs up really helps as well. All right guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one.